The global arms trade used to follow a script. Friends armed friends, and enemies didn't get invited to the party. There were rules, or at least the illusion of them. But now, the script has been shredded, rewritten, and passed around like gossip at a dysfunctional family dinner. Today, you got longtime allies ignoring each other's calls, sanctioned states somehow upgrading their arsenals, and sworn enemies swapping tech like they're doing Secret Santa. The result? We got a geopolitical mess with missiles. And it all starts with how the world's once stable alliances are falling apart faster than a ceasefire in a group chat. There was a time not too long ago when you can reasonably guess who was buying weapons from whom. The US armed its allies, Russia armed its clients, and everyone else picked a side or settled for leftovers. It was predictable. Messy, yeah, but at least predictable. Now, the international arms scene looks more like an open buffet where everyone's piling up plates from opposite ends of the ideological spectrum. Take Saudi Arabia, a country we've long considered a VIP customer of the US defense industry. Billions have been spent over the years on American fighter jets, missiles, and training. But in recent years, Riyadh's been hedging its bets, turning to China for drones and considering Russian missile systems. So much for loyalty. Turkey, too, decided to flirt hard with Russia by purchasing the S-400 missile system. And needless to say, Washington wasn't amused. It kicked Turkey out of the F-35 program faster than you can say strategic contradiction. But Turkey didn't exactly blink. 'Cause in today's world, everyone's shopping around. Even India, a country juggling ties with the US, Russia, and now increasingly France, has managed to buy weapons from all sides of the chessboard. Multi-alignment isn't just a buzzword, it's the business model. The only thing driving all this is mistrust, a breakdown in faith that traditional alliances will deliver when the chips are down. Defense partners have started acting like unreliable landlords, too slow to respond, too eager to impose conditions, and occasionally threatening eviction. So the buyers are branching out, sellers are getting creative, and the result is a market where allegiances are no longer guiding principles. They're simply suggestions. We're witnessing the unraveling of old playbooks, replaced by a kind of chaotic realism. This isn't about who you're friends with anymore, but about who can deliver the payload no matter whose flag it flies under. And once you accept that, everything that happens next, no matter how absurd, starts to make a terrifying amount of sense. Now let's talk about the actual deals, because they make even less sense. Starting with NATO. You'd assume a military alliance founded on collective defense would have a unified supply chain, right? You're wrong. Several NATO countries have been spotted casually using Russian-made equipment like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, countries that claim to be rock-solid US allies are going on secret shopping sprees in Beijing. The UAB is reportedly cozying up to China for military drones. Drones that, by the way, look suspiciously like MQ-9 Reapers, but cost less and come with fewer human rights lectures. A bargain, apparently. But it gets weirder. Egypt, another major US military aid recipient, was accused of planning to send rockets to Russia. Egyptian officials denied it, and the evidence is murky at best. But even the suggestion of it feels like someone trying to play both sides at once. Serbia too buys from Russia, shops around with China, but still flirts with the EU and the US. Serbia's arms strategy is like someone ordering food from 3 different restaurants and pretending they're loyal to just one. But what's behind all this double dealing? 3 things: speed, price, and deniability. Western arms deals come with a stack of paperwork, waiting periods, and values-based conditions. Don't bomb this group, don't torture that population, don't invade that country. Meanwhile, China and Russia operate with fewer strings and faster delivery times. So the question isn't who's buying from who anymore. The real question is, how are all these countries not accidentally blowing each other up with the same weapons they bought from opposite sides? And if that doesn't scream world order in decline, wait until we dig into how these deals are negotiated. In all of this, the behind-the-scenes actions is less United Nations and more daytime soap opera. There's public feuds, embarrassing backroom deals, and plot lines so messy they make reality TV look tame. Let's start with Germany and China. Germany, the EU's golden child, likes to act neutral and principled, but behind the scenes, locked into China economically. German companies are neck-deep in Chinese manufacturing and sales, and when Beijing raises its voice, Berlin tends to lower its gaze. There's no bold stand on Taiwan, no hard lines drawn, just carefully worded press releases and a quiet refusal to rock the boat. Strategic silence disguised as diplomacy. India and the US are also dancing around a shiny new arms relationship. The US wants India to lean westward, away from Moscow, away from decades of Russian-made fighter jets and missile systems. However, India is still buying from Russia, still keeping that door wide open. And yes, that drama of Turkey being booted out of the F-35 fighter jet program isn't left out here. But let's be honest, these aren't just disagreements or misunderstandings at play. They're power moves, where weapons aren't just a tool for defense, they're the currency of international prestige. Each handshake, each press conference, it's a transaction disguised as diplomacy. You may be thinking, what's scarier than that? Well, it's how many deals happen behind closed doors, off the cameras, with "trust me" as the only guarantee. Behind the polished headlines for arms deals is a much grittier reality, one that operates in the shadows, powered by middlemen, covert suppliers, and military contractors who don't answer to any flag. These are the people who keep the global arms industry moving when official channels get too complicated. Here's how it usually works. A country wants to buy military equipment, but direct purchases would raise red flags. Maybe they're under sanctions, maybe their allies would object, or maybe they just want to keep things quiet. That's where the middlemen come in. These are the brokers and intermediaries who can find loopholes, arrange discreet shipments, and make sure the paperwork doesn't lead back to anyone too important. These deals often avoid scrutiny by moving through smaller countries or private companies that act as fronts. For example, despite Serbia being a relatively small player in Europe, it's become a hub in the arms trade. Serbian arms have shown up in conflict zones from the Middle East to Africa. Sometimes it's legal, sometimes it skirts the edge. But the point is, they have access, supply, and the willingness to deal. They've become part of the network that keeps weapons circulating to places that technically shouldn't be getting them. There are also the military contractors, the private security firms and freelance fighters who step in when governments can't or won't get directly involved. These contractors operate in war zones, filling in for regular troops or handling missions that are too politically sensitive for official forces. They bring military expertise without the diplomatic consequences, which is why they're hired not just by nations, but by companies and private interests looking for security or tactical advantage. Some of these groups are highly organized and well-trained, but others operate in more of a legal gray zone. In countries like Syria, Libya, or parts of Africa, their presence can shift the dynamics of a conflict, sometimes stabilizing, sometimes escalating tensions, depending on who's paying and what the job is. And it's not just rogue states looking for ways around embargoes. Countries like North Korea and Iran are known for relying on foreign intermediaries to acquire parts, materials, or technology they just can't get directly. These partners often operate through shell companies, false end-user certificates, and re-export loopholes to keep supplies moving under the radar. So while global powers debate policy in public forums, the real flow of weapons often happens elsewhere, quietly, through informal networks and private hands. It's a side of the arms trade that doesn't get as much attention, but it's central to how military gear moves, how conflicts are sustained, and how accountability is often sidestepped. In short, the back channels are alive and well, and they're a key reason why, despite all the regulations, the global arms market never really slows down. Now, here's the dirty truth. Chaos pays. While regular people run from war zones, someone else is cashing in big time. When alliances crumble and enemies start trading weapons, it's like a gold rush for arms dealers. The more unstable the world gets, the more weapons are bought, and the richer certain people become. Sanctions aren't roadblocks, they're invitations for backdoor deals. Civilian casualties don't stop the flow. They just shift the spotlight while business keeps booming. And it's not just countries anymore. Black markets are thriving. Non-state groups are getting military-grade weapons, and shady middlemen are making a fortune. Meanwhile, the ones raking in the cash are living large: yachts, private jets, luxury estates, while the rest of the world burns. This isn't some secret anyway. It's literally the business model. War is profitable. Chaos is profitable. So here's the real question. If peace doesn't pay, who's actually working to stop the war? And the answer to that might just be in the next video. So hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to stay updated when the video drops. Thanks for watching.